Welcome back to KBC News Check, and for the next 40 minutes or so, we'll be discussing another issue. Away from politics, Christmas is finally here with us. It's actually next week. Yes, next week is Christmas, and after next week, the other week, we are also celebrating the New Year, and of course, that same week, we have our schools reopened and our kids back in school. So how do we balance all that and ensure that we don't feel a pinch? You've seen even memes talking about Januaries where people eat a lot of greens, cabbages, skumawikis after feeding on chicken and the goats and the cows. But how do we get that balance so that we may not end up in financial problems? That is our discussion now, and I'm joined by Mr. Peter Macharia, who is a financial expert.
Yes.
Is the right word to call you, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little about what you do.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the studios today.
Karibu sana.
I'm a banker by profession, having done around 30 or 40 years of banking, locally and internationally.
Okay.
And after I left the bank, I set up a microfinance by the name Njue Credit. And that's where we are. We do business consultancy, like what you're going to discuss today.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've talked about banking. From the statistics released by a lot of financial institutions have shown that a lot of Kenyans don't save, and the saving culture in Kenya is quite minimal, if you ask me. But also the issue is that you find that there is nothing to save. But some people do talk about ukijipanga. You might you might have some few coins to save. What can you talk about our saving culture? Because if at all you have saved something, when it comes to festivities like Christmas, you will not feel any pinch.
That's true, that's true. Ordinarily, or rather locally, or in Kenya, the saving culture is not fully embedded. And it's a very major downside on the Kenyans and the Kenyan economy by itself, because ordinarily savings comes in when hard times come in, and it's a culture and an attitude that needs to be shed right from nursery school all the way to university or even business life or working life, so that in your old age you have a penny or two to save you in the hard times when you are not physically strong to toil and work for yourself. Yes.
This is a dilemma that a lot of Kenyans are facing. You find that you could be earning more money than I make, but I'm able to save. How do you change that pattern, and how do you inculcate a saving culture when it comes to holidays, and you find somebody posting on IG or on Facebook in Dubai, you know, YOLO, life is short, and that is somebody who has saved for that, as opposed to somebody taking a loan or the mobile loans to enjoy him or herself. How do we balance this? How do we do this so that one of the New Year resolutions perhaps will be, I will start saving, and when it comes to January, you don't start saving? How do we inculcate that culture so that when we are faced with holidays or eventualities, we have something that we can use to save us?
Thank you. It calls for a lot of personal financial discipline, so that you're able to keep a shilling or come up with a saving, inculcate a saving culture in our youth, and as you're saying, in the people who have the 6-digit salaries. Because ordinarily for you to plan for a holiday, you're not supposed to get a loan to finance a lifestyle, or to go on holiday, to go to Dubai and such places. You're supposed to plan, budget, and set aside some cash for that particular holiday, or for that particular excursion, so that you don't, when it comes to January, you don't feel the pinch, or you don't start saying or cursing the holiday season. And the holidays are very good and very healthy, and therefore it's a culture that we need to really encourage and educate our youthful generation, so they can develop a budget, a holiday budget, as opposed to getting holiday loans, which we offer at Jijeng Credit.
You also offer,
yeah, we offer holiday loans. Yeah. Between,
somebody will still continue sinking into debt when it comes to that. But I know very well Kenyans do like actually at least ventilating a bit and enjoying themselves. That is why you also come up with that product.
Definitely.
It must be, you must be enjoying a lot of applications this month.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Between the last month and this month, most of the loans are for those holiday parting. Yes.
And now, at the end of the day, you're going to get that loan. In January, we have our
School
kids
fees.
back to school.
Yes.
What, you know, at the end of the day, if I take a loan at your institution, January, I will be required to pay school fees and everything. What percentage of my salary should I put into savings, and more specifically for holidays?
The best advice, or the best percentage we can advise our viewers to put aside is around 10% of your gross income should be set aside as savings, so that in case you lose your job, or in case you have an emergency, that savings should be able to take you 6 months without any additional income. You should kick in and pay for your bills, pay for your daily expenses without getting an extra coin from any other source, even including your salary. That is how the savings culture should be. That is what we recommend. However, for Kenyans, or most of the people we encounter, they borrow to use on that particular instance. And if you look at the academic calendar for this year and next year, it's shorter, as opposed to the 3 holidays in 1 year.
Yeah, parents don't even have time to breathe.
Exactly. Therefore, immediately after Christmas, on 5th, most children will be going back to school, either primary or secondary schools. And therefore, the breathing space, or the time to reorganize your finances, is too short. And therefore, my advice to parents this season, please come up with a budget. Don't spend, don't rush into any expenses. Avoid impulse buying, and always try to maybe use bonga points, or let's say the loyalty points when you go to supermarkets and all that. So that every coin that you're able to save and keep for January can be there to pay school fees and take our children to school without much hassle. Yes.
And also, there are a lot of parents who do give their kids money for the festivities. How much is too much? Because we will find our youth overindulging, and we've had even the ministry and the government talking about a lot of parents who have abdicated their responsibility as parents. That is why we are hearing of even schools being banned. So when it comes to giving our children money, how much is too much to avoid overindulgence?
Personally, I would recommend there should be no money being given to children. It should be if there's any money to be given out, it should be structured. What I mean by that is, for example, if your child approaches you with a certain expense, it should be an expense that is suitable to her academic life, or to her something that will add value to her academic or physical life. For example, if a child says he wants a bike, that's a reasonable expense. But if somebody wants cash, which is not accountable, that one should be discouraged, because by and large, at some point in future, that person needs to be trained on being accountable. You should be able to give that child 100 shillings. They go to a shop, buy bread or buy milk, and bring back the change. Therefore, as I've said earlier, the saving culture and the accountability culture should be inculcated in our children, so that in future we're able to have responsible Kenyans who can be given very huge responsibilities, like running corporations or being managers in various organizations, and they should be accountable to every cent, and to the board and to the public also. Yes.
When it comes to December, there's a lot of impulse buying and purchasing of things that you had not planned for. And because we have today is 14th, we have 10 days or so to Christmas. How can we avoid impulse buying? Because you will find supermarket with all their offers, and at the end of the day they want you to spend more money, because if they have an offer on a particular item, you will be pulled to buy something else. How can we avoid impulse buying when it comes to festivities?
The best way to avoid impulse buying is, number one, come up with a budget. And that budget should include the shopping list. Before you even leave the house, do the shopping list and put an indicative pricing and budget for each item. And as you leave the house, can you agree with the person or the people you're going to the supermarket with that there will be no other items to be purchased outside this list? In that way, or in that space, you inculcate personal finance discipline, so that you will not be distracted. Even if you see an offer for sale for a discount of 100 shillings, please don't buy as long as it is not in your budget or list of items to be bought. Yeah,
and especially I've seen a lot of supermarkets with very good offers when it comes to alcoholic drinks, of which is going to eat into your budget, something that you had not planned for, 100 shillings. Yes, now, parents, some parents have inculcated saving culture when it comes to their kids. You've talked about when you send a kid milk and bread, they should bring back the change. Well, I do remember back in the days we had those piggy banks that you were asked how much money, 10 shillings, you're told to go put it, more or less like developing that saving culture. But a lot of parents don't encourage their kids to save, or when they do, they just ask the kid to retain the money, but they don't know how much that kid is saving. Perhaps that kid might decide to use it for, I'm telling you, a lot of kids are going to be taking and consuming alcohol and other substances over this period. How can we check that as parents?
Thank you. The best way to check on that is to inculcate the accountability culture, such that if you send your child to the supermarket or to the shop within the estate, let them be accountable. Let them buy the goods you've sent. Come with a list of the receipt and the balance, and that balance should be handed back to you, cent to cent. You should not buy the idea that I lost 10 shillings here, another day I lost 20 bob. If you accumulate that, that's 100 bob, and you don't know how that 100 shillings will be used. So the best way is to encourage and inculcate that accountability culture, and it will take the country very far, because when these children mature, they will end up in responsible positions where we have been, and we've been personally have been very accountable, an excellent manager, and I've never lost or misappropriated funds that have been put under my watch. Yes.
And of course, as a credit, a savings credit and financial institutions, you'll be having a booming business when it comes to the holiday loans, just as you said. And in January, we will be back there to ask for school fees. What advice can you give somebody? Because at the end of the day, that's two debts, and we just keep sinking deeper and deeper into debt, bearing in mind the COVID pandemic did hit us so much when it comes to our financial muscle.
Well, as an organization, what we also do, we look at the application form and where the funds are going to be taken. And if it is more so being taken for holiday, we usually have offer free consultancy services. And we advise our customers on the appropriate ways of spending or investing funds that have been borrowed. Because at the end of the day, whatever coin or whatever shilling is borrowed must be paid at a profit or at with some interest over and above the principal amount. And therefore, we encourage our customers to invest wisely. If possible, we encourage them to invest in business whereby the returns are going to be realized. Yes.
A lot of people don't see the need to save for holidays or some out-of-pocket expenditures. They think when the holiday comes, we will use what we have. And that has not, you've been in the financial sector for a very long time. Yes. And you can bear me witnesses. People don't save for eventualities like holidays. People save for other factors or for other uses, but not holiday. But when it comes to the holiday, they use the same money to spend it perhaps even thriftily.
It is true the saving culture has not been fully embedded in the Kenyan market, and it came into fore when COVID-19 hit the country. And that's why you realize that most businesses and most families were really adversely affected by lack of funds to sustain them. Especially when layoffs were put into place by most organizations, where employers were being told to either be on half pay or step aside for a few months as they observe the COVID impact of the pandemic. During that time, that's when the saving culture, most people and most organizations remember that they are supposed to be saving. And therefore, my advice to the academic fraternity is to bring on board or to have a subject on financial management and saving, so that our children in school and our graduates can be fully advised on how to manage their finances.
Now there are mobile loans, and there are even micro loans from banks which you can just access via USD. And a lot of Kenyans, without naming any of the of those mobile loans, or even the mobile phone companies have a way that you can get 5, 10 or even 20,000. And of course the central bank will now be regulating that. I would want your take on that. And also, how do you get yourself out of these mobile loans? They are so sweet, you know.
Yes,
if we are having something here, we're drinking something, and of course in Maisha you see, you just and then you ask for some more.
Yes.
And you find a lot of Kenyans are sinking further and deeper into debt. And even there are some presidential candidates using that, saying that we wouldn't want our youths to sink in the mobile, the small loans.
Yes.
You might not think that they are digging deep into your pocket, but they are, because their interests are over the roof. How do you get out of those small loans? At least for these big loans, you know very well, it's a check-off system. They can deduct from your pay, but the small micro loans from mobile loan banks and mobile loans companies.
Thank you. Well, I may start with the last point of the presidential candidates. What I can say about them is that those are populist remarks, and they are not giving Kenyans any tangible solution. But if we look at what CBK is doing, I would like to thank them for the efforts that they are trying to do, so that they can rope in the mobile the mobile lenders, because the biggest challenge with those the mobile apps is that is the ease of accessing the funds.
Yes,
because you see, there's a thing that says come easy, go easy. You see, when you access those funds easily, and maybe your state, as you are saying, that people could be having sharing a drink somewhere at a social place. So maybe you're even applying for those facilities when you are a bit intoxicated. So the decision making or the state of mind is not rational, and it's not perfect. Therefore, when you're told that you applied for 20,000, you can't even tell how you applied. You can't even know how you spent it.
Yeah.
So that ease of accessing those funds is what needs to be a bit to be fine-tuned, so that number one, when you're accessing those funds, you can be told of the costs and the consequences of failing to pay. So once you accept those terms and conditions, maybe the app can take you to the next stage of now applying for the funds. So that by and large, the process of applying those funds could be a bit can be tweaked a bit to make it a bit cumbersome, so that it should not be easily accessible. I don't know how they are going to make it a bit tedious to apply. But also on the flip side, we need to also encourage technology, because if all organizations follow the traditional method of lending, it will slow down the speed of the growth of the economy, because traditional lenders like Jijenge Credit and most banks, they only operate maybe from Monday to Saturday, and from 5 to 8.
Yes.
But on the flip side, those micro lenders, mobile lenders, you're able to access those funds even at midnight.
Yes, yes, and that's a big problem. But we will be winding up this conversation. But before then, in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check, and we are winding up. We are looking at financial freedom when it comes to matters, the festivities, and we're joined by a financial expert who is Peter Macharia. Perhaps to wrap it up, what can you advise Kenyans? Of course, there is overindulgence. We get road accidents, and in January, we have the greens, as people like to put in memes. We have the cabbages and sukuma wiki taking over from the meat. As we wind up, final words.
I would like to urge my fellow Kenyans to take it easy. Christmas will come and go. So let's, we should not overindulge. We should not drive and take these other substances. Let's be very sober, and also remember that come January 5th, we need school fees, and we need to take our young ones to school. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter Macharia, a financial expert, guiding us on how we are supposed to inculcate saving culture, and of course setting aside money for other eventualities, not only going for loans that we have not even saved for. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ben Troy Njue Anwangeshi. Apologies, Susan Thuku has been our sign language interpreter for this second hour. Initially, we had Lensa Odingo. Of course, I'm giving the baton to the Swahili desk, Ben Chumba. I can see he is on standby, who will be handling the Kurunzi Mashinani. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue this conversation on social media.